Well, the Met news could have been worse. The season could have been canceled. How are you, everybody? Welcome to the Met Zone. Our first report, couple of weeks into the season, and we did not get good news today, and we didn't think we were going to. The Mets had to make a move today. We were waiting on it. Unfortunately, Juan Soto is going to hit the IL. Now, it used to be the disabled list. Now it's the injured list, politically correct. I didn't expect a 2 to 3 week timeline because it seemed like even if they put him on the IL, it might be a couple of days, a minimum, right? 10 days are retroactive to Saturday because he missed, and then he only misses a week. And you could have put him at DH, but he's gone for 2 to 3 weeks. That's what they said the timeline was. So it does change things a little bit. And maybe that's why it wasn't Christian Arroyo or Brujan or Melendez that came up. Instead, they're bringing up Ronnie Mauricio, which is the best player they can because he's going to be in for a while. Now, Brett Beatty's probably going to start in left for the immediate future. So Mauricio becomes the utility guy like Beatty was. Might get some starts at DH. He's a much better left-hand hitter than right-hand hitter. Maybe Bichette will DH a bit. Mauricio goes to third. Maybe just a pitch hitter. But he's up. Juan Soto's on the IL. And it's rough. It's rough for a couple of reasons. Because, A, Soto was doing well. He was hitting 355. He was doing pretty well. He was getting on base at a breakneck pace like he always does. And with Lindor not doing anything, which is pretty much his MO for all of April. Last year, he got off to a very good start, which was the first time in years that he had. But we're used to him not doing well for the first 6 weeks of the season. Now he has to pick it up. And Lindor is hitting 135. He has yet to knock in a run. No power. He has 5 hits on the season. He has 2 triples, which is interesting because he had no triples last year. In a 4-game stretch, he had 2 this season. But really doesn't seem to be playing at a pace which we have gotten used to with Francisco. Even when he'd get off to the tough starts, he seemed to have his head more into the game. In fact, the other day with the first inning double play chance, ground ball to second, he stepped on second and came running in. Didn't realize how many outs. You would think, first week of the season, you should be a little together. First inning, it was. So I don't know what's going on with him. But, look, nothing other than the last 3 games has gone right offensively for this team. Bo Bichette, who's starting to hit a bit now, has his average up to 200. He has 6 RBIs. Bichette, honestly, could have 15 RBIs right now. I believe as of Saturday, Bichette was up at bat with the most runners in scoring position than any player in Major League Baseball. And I think it might have been Soto second. But, look, he's starting to hit the ball. He's playing okay at third base. We didn't expect a Gold Glove caliber third baseman. He is playing okay. Hey, Ira. Marcus Semien, terrific defense, has a home run, 6 RBIs. Just when I was ready to write him off after the first few games, he got hot. And also with the veterans, you have to give them a little time. Veterans generally do take some starting up, like an older car where you start it and you sit there. Remember, you wait for the car to warm up. The veterans seem to get out of the gate a bit slow for the most part. Brett Beatty has been Brett Beatty, is hitting 240. No one really is hitting well with the batting average, except for the guy that was supposed to be your bench piece, Mark Vientos. Vientos has been unbelievable. Uh, I don't think anybody saw this coming, but he's hitting 476. He's played his way into the lineup after the first 4 games missing in action, and now Vientos has played in 7 games. Got a home run and 4 RBIs. He's doing very well, and he's manning a decent first base. Now Polanco, who was supposed to play first base, is nursing a sore Achilles, I believe, or plantar fasciitis, one of the two. But it's not pretty. And they put Vientos at first base with Polanco DHing, and he's actually holding his own. He's playing okay. I don't know if that is going to be a positive defensive position for the Mets this year if Vientos is playing at first base. Probably not. But look, Alonso wasn't either. If you got a little better than Alonso's defense, you're probably ahead of the game because you didn't even know if you were going to get that with Polanco never really playing first base to be moved to first base. But look, Carson Benj looks over his head. Benj is hitting 100. He's actually hitting 100. He's 3 for 30. He hit that 1 home run, but he doesn't look. He comes to play every day. He has, I think, 4 steals. He's played okay defensively. Good arm, although he during the extra inning game against the Cardinals went back on a ball that if he would have broke for the ball correctly, they would have got out of the inning. Instead, it dropped in and they lost the game. Francisco Alvarez leads the team with 3 home runs. He's hitting okay. He's hitting 292. His defense still is a little suspect. But, you know, when you have a bat, if he produces the way you'd like Alvarez to produce, you could take the miscues once in a while behind the plate. Hey, Emmanuel, how are you? Happy Easter. Luis Robert Jr., 333 on base percentage. He leads the club at 474. I've been disappointed with his play in center field. He's actually a negative 0.1 outs above replacement. Hey, Mitch, which is interesting because Robert is supposed to be a Gold Glove caliber center fielder. And he has, to the eye test now, I haven't seen him every game, but I've caught a bit of every game. He looks like he's getting a tough read on the ball. He stepped in and a ball went over his head. He doesn't seem all that strong on the field, and he doesn't have a great arm to begin with. So they brought him in here really for more glove and hoping they'd get some offense out of him, and it's kind of been the opposite. Tyrone Taylor, who was supposed to be another bench piece. Who would have thought that the bench pieces of Mark Vientos, Jared Young, who no one knew why he made the team, Luis Torrens, and Tyrone Taylor would be the heroes this past weekend. Tyrone Taylor hit a pitch hit 3-run homer. Everyone was shocked that he came up to pinch hit. 3-run homer. Jared Young is hitting 385. He made a nice play in left field. Although, you know, sometimes a nice play in left field would have been an ordinary play for a better outfielder. I think a better left fielder would have made that play look a lot less enticing for us. But look, he's done what he's been asked to do, Jared Young. He's done well. Luis Torrens, that big hit, your backup catcher. Lindor, like I said, nothing. Juan Soto was playing well until he went down. Now, the interesting thing really is the pitching. Because, mind you, nothing has gone really right for this club other than the last few games. And they limp in with Beatty with a jam thumb and Soto on a DL, although I don't think he's probably day-to-day Beatty. With a 6-4 record and a half a game out in the East, Miami, I don't have a lot of faith in them. And the Mets, I think, are tied with the Braves. You know, there's 10 games in. But the pitching has been unbelievable. Clay Holmes has 2 wins, 1.42 ERA. He leads the starters, 12.2 innings pitched. Okay, he's averaged 6 1/3. he wasn't getting. He was a glorified uh, opener last year, pitching 4 innings, maybe 5. Yes, they did, Emmanuel. Free agent. Uh, Senga has looked excellent. 11 innings. He looks healthy. Do I expect him to maintain 99 miles per hour, which he has hit a few times on the gun? No. But look, if he can stay around 96 and the ghost fork works, which everyone was laying off last year and the year before, well, the year before he actually had a good year. Last year, they were laying off that pitch. He couldn't throw for a strike. David Peterson got whacked around. David Peterson, look, he is what he is. David Peterson is a 4 ERA guy that's going to look terrific and show you glimpses of a great left-hander and then going to get whacked around. That's what Peterson is. Freddie Peralta's been Freddie Peralta. Doesn't give you length, the 5 or 6 inning pitcher, but he's been as advertised. And then McLean. McLean hasn't been as dominant as I thought he would be. Look, 10 innings pitched, 5 hits, 4 walks, 12 strikeouts. Pretty dominant. If you look at his whip, it's 0.87. But with all that, I don't think he's looked that dominant. I think the thing that will stop McLean from being a true number one, I think he's going to throw too many pitches. That's Peralta's problem. Peralta's up about 75, 80 pitches in the 5th inning. That has always been Freddie Peralta's problem. And I think that will be McLean's problem. His stuff moves so much that if he's not wild in the zone, he goes to a lot of 3 and 2 counts. And that will be his bugaboo. That has been this year, and that's why he's only thrown 10 innings. He's looked dominant in stretches. When his command gets away from him, he seems vulnerable. He's also a young pitcher. I think he's pitched 10 games in the major leagues. Manaea still throwing 89. He $25 million starting pitcher who isn't in the starting rotation. Although he gave you mop-up work of 3 innings plus the other day, still throwing 89, gave up a run, was serviceable, and saved the bullpen. So, look, maybe that's their way of stretching him out a little. Don't know. Weaver's been good. The Yankee outcast, and so has Devon Williams, who has 2 saves. He's 2 for 2. Devon Williams also hasn't looked overly dominant, but he's gotten the job done. Put a couple of runners on, walks. Brooks Raley's been Brooks Raley. He's great, but he can't pitch day after day. He can't go back to back. They're watching him because of the Tommy John surgery he had. So his first full year back, and that's a problem because he's your only good lefty because you have Dickey Lovelady as your other lefty who was going to give up a run every time he's in there. You just have to hope you're up by 3 or 4. So I think the pitching has been okay. I think the starting pitching's been good. The starting pitchers, 12 innings for Holmes, 11 for Senga, 10 for Peralta, 10 for McLean, 9 for Peterson. So between 5 and 6 innings, they're pitching. You'd like to get another inning out of them, but look, last year they weren't getting anything the second half of the season. They've all been Holmes has been fairly dominant, and I think Holmes has certainly made that jump from reliever to starter, and I think he's going to have a good season. Senga, you keep your fingers crossed that he stays healthy. Senga probably has the best stuff on the staff. Does it always translate to success? Well, when he's healthy, yeah, but he's not always healthy. He pitched the first time. He's usually, they like 6 days. They like 5 days. That's why the Mets were using 6 starter. He pitched on regular rest the other day, four days, and he pitched well. He hit 98 or 99 once or twice, but he didn't give you the length. So, when you have, I think they kind of made it very clear that they were not going to hold up the whole rotation because of Kodai Senga. Freddie Peralta likes pitching every 5th day. And they're not going to screw with Freddie Peralta, not when he's the supposed ace. So Senga's going to have to pitch when they tell him to pitch. Uh, I think if you told the Mets staff right now, the hierarchy, that he's going to give you 24 starts, Senga, I think they'd sign right now for it. And you fill in the other 8 or 9 starts. Jonathan coming up. Maybe you start Myers. Tobias Myers has been outstanding in the bullpen. And Brazaban has been great. They've gotten good relief pitching. They certainly have. But Tobias Myers has been terrific. He's gone 8 innings, given up 2 hits, 6 strikeouts, a run. He's been great. And he can go 3 or 4 innings. He could be a spot starter for you and give you 5 or 6. He was a real good throw-in in that Freddie Peralta deal. And it almost, look, if they don't sign Freddie Peralta, the Mets gave up a lot. But Tobias Myers, with I think 4 years of control they have of him, I don't think you would ever trade Brendan Sprout, who's been hammered with Milwaukee, and the other rookie for Myers. But it'll ease the blow because he's a solid piece. I don't think he'd ever be an all-star, but he will be one of your all-stars. At the very least, a very valuable piece for your pitching staff. So, look, the defense has been okay. They were shoddy, and they've gotten a little tighter. Bichette seems to have figured it out a bit at third base. He has a couple of errors this year. Then let's see. Let me see if I can give you the fielding percentage of the team through 10 games. I don't think it's actually that bad. I really don't. Lindor hasn't made an error. Simeon, Gold Glover, hasn't made an error. Bichette has made 2 errors, but he's a minus 0.1 defensive WAR, so he hasn't killed you over there. Bench has been okay. The Mets have 4 errors in 10 games, which Bichette has 2 of them. David Peterson and Sean Manaea both have an error. So the position players have 2 errors over 10 games, which is outstanding. That's outstanding. That will put you upper 5% of the league at the end of the year. But that's not going to happen. But look, mental miscues, I think Luis Robert, I think the Mets had 4 hits with runners at second base their last 4 times, and the guy didn't score. I think that third base coach is over his head. I would not be surprised if he was replaced this year. I think he's tentative now after getting Lindor thrown out at the plate. But I do think that a healthy and aggressive Mark Vientos can really help this team. I think he's a guy that if you just put him in there and let him play virtually every day, Vientos will fall into 20-plus homers. He's got that kind of power. I think if you played him every day, you'd get 25 and 80 out of him. You might get 230. The problem is if you have a player that doesn't play adequate defense with those numbers, doesn't quite justify him playing. Beatty's been okay. There's definitely an art to waking up in the morning not knowing where you're going to play, but you're probably going to play. Ben Zobrist was great at that. Jeff McNeil was great at that. It's an adjustment to not know where you're going to play. And credit to Jeff McNeil, who is not off to a good start, nor is Pete Alonso in their respective teams. McNeil was at least an average to above average player in any position you put him in. He was above average at second, probably adequate in the outfield, and about average at third. He wasn't going to hurt you defensively. That's a key. He just didn't hit enough. And I think, the Mets have a couple of decisions to make. I don't think Benj is ready, personally. I don't listen. I don't think about what players do in spring training nor in September. Because in September, 50% of the pitches you're facing are AAA pitches that have been called up. I have no faith in what you do in September. You're not facing generally quality starting pitching every day. I don't know where she is, Emmanuel. Good question. But look, 6-4. I think Soto will be missed. He's going to miss 10 games. He's missed 2 already, so it's going to be 12 games, maybe more. Probably May 1st, he'll return. Go 500. Let's say he misses 12 more games. You won 2 without him already. Go 6-6 the next 12. 14 games. Go 7-7. Which would put you still 2 games over 500. That East is going to be a dogfight the whole year. When the Mariners, hey, Maria. Yeah, that should be good. The Seattle has no hitting. I know that Rowley's off to a tough start. He's not hitting 60 homers this year. He'll hit 35 or 40, but he's off to a tough start. I don't think they have enough hitting they have great pitching. I don't think they have the hitting to really win it all, Maria. They don't hit enough. Terrific pitching. Wu is great, the starter. But I think that the Mets will be okay. I think they're in it for the long haul, and I definitely agree with the Soto decision. Soto probably wanted to play yesterday, but I certainly will, Emmanuel. You have to temper him and say, Juan, you pull that again, it could be out 8 weeks. All right, it's the beginning of the season now. Reoccurring calf strains are murder, especially if you're playing the outfield and especially if you're not a great outfielder. Now, you could DH him, and I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if when he came back, he DH'd a bit. I wouldn't be surprised to give him a little more time to heal. DH him for 10 days after that, and then you've rested him a month. I could see that happening. But I think that I think the Mets are in good shape. Look, I think that Mendoza, we get on him a lot, had a great series managing. He pushed all the right buttons. Jared Young, he had in there. I'm not a Jared Young fan. What's he taking up a roster spot for when you get a Mauricio up or something like that? Jared Young pretty much won you 2 games. He pitch hit. I think he pitch hit Jared Young with the catcher. And the catcher blooped the single into right and 2 runs scored, and the Mets won. So, when you would have questioned, I believe he had a couple of hits going into that at bat, Young. So he's done a good job this weekend managing. I still don't think he knows how to use the bullpen. I think he is horrendous with the bullpen usage. Mendoza, I don't think he has a clue. But look, one of the things I liked a lot is when he gave his staff the credit, where he could have taken a lot of credit for sending in Torrens as the pinch hitter. Sounded like a brilliant move, right? A hot Jared Young, you replace, and Torrens bloops a single to right, goes the opposite way, 2 runs score, and you're a genius. He said, no. The coach that works with the Mets had said, give Torrens a chance. He's going to come up big for you. And Mendoza listened to his staff. And he gave all the credit. And that's really cool when you have a manager that knows he's on the hot seat a bit. And he had a shot to take some credit. And he didn't. He passed the credit on. That gave him a lot of juice in my book. In my book, that's a check. When you finally can take a little credit, when you know they're beating you up, and you give credit where credit is due. I think that's pretty cool. So we had to look 2 weeks into the season. Got scary a bit when the Mets just weren't hitting. At one point, I think they were 2 for 23 with runners in scoring position. But look, I would have expected Luis Robert to be the guy that was on the DL or Senga already, not Soto. Soto plays between 158 and 160 games every year. The last time he went out, I think he had a shoulder strain. He missed. Thank you, Mitch. But I think that the Mets are where they want to be. They didn't panic, although their fans were panicking. Do you really think Bo Bichette's going to hit 150? Bo Bichette's a professional 280 hitter. That's what he was trying to do too much. He was trying to hit a grand slam home run every at-bat with nobody on base. I think that Bichette will be fine. I think at the end of the year, Bichette's at 285. 85, 90 RBIs. You're going to get 15 to 20 homers. He's not a home run hitter. And he's not going to give you Pete Alonso production. But he'll come up with 1 out, runner at third, and he'll put the ball in play where Alonso might have struck out. I'm a very big proponent of making contact. Anything can happen if you put the ball in play. If you don't, nothing is going to happen. Who is that, Emmanuel? I think that, look, I think the Mets will be fine. I know Alonso's off to a terrible start. Nemo is off to a good start, but they have him back in the leadoff position. Yeah, I think Bo was, he had an injury last year. He did. But I think Bo's going to be fine. Bo's a professional hitter. I don't think he's worth $30 million a year, which he's going to be asking for, or more than that. But he's a professional hitter. You certainly want him up. He's a great playoff performer. He gets big hits. He had that big home run last year for Toronto. But I do think that the Mets will be fine. You're 6-4. Like I said, if you go 500 without Soto, I think the Mets would sign for that right now. Your best player, and you stay above water. The key is you don't want this to turn into a 30 or 40 game injury, because then you're sacrificing a lot. The season is not going to be broken for you in the next 3 weeks, unless you go 0-17. But if you have to go half a season without Soto, I don't like the prospects, because then you are missing all your power out of the lineup. Nemo, 25 home runs. Pete, at least 35. You're not going to replace that. So they're being prudent with Soto. It also probably doesn't help that he's a $750 million player. I'm sure that's a little of the reason why they're being careful. But, yeah, they know. Look, if Soto had a terrible year this year, Mets aren't making the playoffs. If Lindor had a terrible year, then Mets may still make the playoffs. You're not making the playoffs without Soto. And the Mets know that. They'll take the 15-game loss with him out of the lineup. Not 3 months. And those injuries, first of all, they can linger. What happens with those injuries, you rest 10 days, you feel like you're fine, and the first cut you make around second base or out in the outfield, they're out another 3 weeks. And what happens is then they'll be more conservative with you. When you get hurt and then re-injure it, now they'll really make sure you're better before you play. So it'll turn 4 weeks into 6 or 7 weeks just to make sure. But if you would have done that in the beginning, you would have cut off 4 weeks. So why not be conservative right off the bat? especially this early in the season. Look, there's no doubt in my mind if this was a playoff run, 20 games left, the Mets are one out, no doubt in my mind that they tape up and he DH. He wouldn't be in the field, but they DH and keep his bat in the dugout. There's no reason to do that now. Leg injuries are very tricky. And, the Mets have had their share of them. So better to give him 3 weeks to rest. So I give Mendoza a B for managing. It would have been a D before this weekend series, but he pushed all the right buttons between Jared Young, having Torrens come up to hit, using Manaea to try to build him back up. I think he did a good job managing. Thing with Mendoza is, and he has glasses now. He hasn't lost since he wore the glasses. And maybe that's the thing. But I think the Mets will be fine. Look, the Mets are an 83 to 91 win team. Everything goes right, they're going to win 90 plus. Things don't go so right, 83. The last 2 weeks of the season, they'll be fighting for a playoff spot. If everything goes right, division. I think Philly's getting old fast. Philly's not the same team. And I think you'll see a rebuild with it. If the Phillies fall out of it this year, you'll see some trading. They will start dumping players. Atlanta. Look, they have arguably one of the top 3 players in baseball in Acuna. But they took a big hit with Spencer Strider. Strider looked like the Yankee rookie Schitler, who looks tremendous. And now he throws 93, 94. He's never going to be the same pitcher, Spencer Strider. He looked untouchable as a rookie. And it's coming off an arm injury. I don't have faith that the Braves are the Braves anymore. I don't know what it is. I just think too many things went wrong over a couple of seasons. Very hard to suffer injuries, lose 90 games, and then turn it around and win 90. That generally doesn't happen. Unless all your players were injured, which a lot of their players were. It's a systemic problem. Like you see teams that on paper look great and they just don't win. That's an organizational problem. How many times can you field a team that has top talent and you never win? That's usually that's a problem. The locker room, a sick locker room. There's usually something more going on than just player performance. Look at last year with the Mets. You found out about the politics. You found out about Brendan Nemo's wife. I know for a fact had a fight with Lindor's wife in the family room. Politics. That was a problem. There was definitely a problem in that locker room last year. You sold it, really. Cespedes, the greatest acquisition I ever saw, Emmanuel, was when years ago when the Yankees acquired Soriano at the trade deadline. Do you remember the numbers he put up? I think he had about 40 RBIs in 40 games. They reacquired him, remember? Soriano, every night, 3 for 5 or 3 RBIs. It was incredible. I don't know if you remember that. Alfonso Soriano was a good player. Was he traded for A-Rod? Cespedes was, that was some move the Mets made. I remember when Flores had heard that he was traded and he was crying at shortstop. During the game, Flores was told that he was traded. And was crying at shortstop. And he was getting a standing ovation. And then he didn't get traded. And I think the next game he had a walk-off home run to win the game. I'll show you. Let me get this for you. It was very touching.
And a nice big hand for Wilmer Flores as he comes to bat. Most of these fans know that Wilmer's about to get traded. And social media being such these days, everybody knows what the situation is. It's a little odd that Wilmer's still in the game. But the fans giving him a nice send-off here. Ground to him right at the shortstop, Amarista. And Flores retired 2 out.
And then Flores hit a walk-off home run when he wasn't traded, I believe the next game. And incredible scene. And the fans went nuts. You really felt for him. And you will... I'll put it on for you. You'll enjoy this. This was really something. Let me share it with you.
Multiple reports saying that the Mets are on the verge of reacquiring Carlos Gomez for Wheeler and Flores. And a nice big hand for Wilmer Flores. Most of these fans know that Wilmer's about to get traded.
He's got to be wondering, perhaps, why he's getting a loud, partial standing ovation. Hopefully somebody's read Twitter and told him, hey, dude, you're about to be a Brewer. Kind of shocking he's still in the game if this trade is actually going down.
It really is stunning.
He was
There's
crying.
Wilmer Flores, red-eyed, and with some tears coming down his cheeks, in his position as we speak
He
at
started
shortstop.
as a
Terry Collins went over to him, and he had a rather lengthy heart-to-heart. It appears the Mets' career of Wilmer Flores has come to an end.
During the game, I heard about I was getting traded, and I got emotional. And when it came in, they told me there was no trade.
So your plan for tomorrow right now is coming to the ballpark?
Yeah, I'm coming tomorrow.
And the breaking ball hit sharply, and a great diving stop by Flores, and he throws him out.
From teardrops to the near spectacular, Wilmer Flores, thinking he was a goner, is now getting a standing ovation. And Wilmer is loving life in Flushing all of a sudden.
Number 4, Wilmer Flores.
Watch this.
And many in this
The
crowd
day after he thought he was traded.
Hit hard, base hit. Here comes Uribe with the first run of the game.
Here we go, starting the bottom of the 12th inning. Flores is
12th
due
inning.
for a little long ball.
Flores drives it deep left center field. Taylor back near the wall. It's out of here.
He did it! Flores! And the man who was supposed to be gone, well, the ball was gone.
That was incredible. That was unbelievable. There was only one time when I was moved much more than that. Bartolo Colon had a couple of hits in his career as a pitcher. He was the worst hitter that you could ever imagine. And this is one of the greatest calls I've ever heard. Amazing. Check this out. Terrible, terrible hitter he was. Until this.
Malone looking for his first hit of the year. He drives one deep left field. That goes Upton. Back near the wall. It's out of here. Bartolo has done it. The
impossible has happened.
They left the dugout to make him go and put the dugout
The
on.
team vacates the dugout as Bartolo takes the long trot, his first career home run. And there will be nobody in the dugout to greet him. This is one of the great moments.
Unbelievable. I remember that. That was incredible. What a great moment. I think, one of the greatest of all time. I don't know if it was that kind of moment, but the great Howie Rose, who will be retiring after this year. Howie Rose was diagnosed with cancer. And I think he's about 72 or 73 years of age. And he is retiring at the end of the year to spend more time with his kids. I think he has grandchildren now and all that. My brother-in-law went to school with him at Queens College. But, Keith Hernandez has been injured. And really, everyone that I remember as a kid, no one's around anymore. The announcers are all different. It just really makes you feel like everything's changed. I remember John Sterling, and I'm not a Yankee fan, but John Sterling was funny. Yeah, Manuel. Yeah, Howie Rose. I think he's cancer-free now or in remission or whatever. But, yeah, great announcers. Been with the Mets, I think, 30 years, Howie Rose. I remember Steve Zabriskie and Gary Thorne over the last 30 years. In the 80s, it was Tim McCarver was a color man. But, of course, I remember Ralph Kiner, Lindsey Nelson, Bob Murphy. I remember Bob Murphy. Just wonderful. And Howie Rose, I believe, Gary Cohen started with Bob Murphy in the booth. And he said Bob Murphy was a little rough to deal with. Darryl Strawberry. Yeah. Those 80s, I was a bouncer at Shout when the 80s Mets, the year they won the World Series. It was fun, man. I drove Keith Hernandez home. He lived on 49th and 2nd in a big white building. And he was drunk out of his face, couldn't get a cab. I went double dating. My girl at the time, Bobby Ojeda, we went doubling. Bobby's a good guy. Just so many. All the players used to come in there. I remember Ryan Sandberg and Leon Durham. I was very friendly with Ryan Sandberg of the Cubs. Everyone came in there. Not as many Yankees. The Mets came. Not as many Yankees. A couple of Yankees, but not as many. Just, and I don't think the Yankees were that good back then. But the Mets, what a team. What a team. I remember Lenny Dykstra came in once, cigar spit all over the bathroom floor. Well, chewing tobacco spit. Ronnie Darling was always with Keith. And Ed Lynch. Wally Backman. I don't remember him coming in. Barry Lyons would hang out with Keith. Tony Darling would come with a couple of the wives. She was a drinker, boy. But they were fun. They were exactly, if you had to write a book about the 1980s and then say, okay, now we have to put a baseball team in there. Who could exemplify the 1980s decade? Mets. That's what it was. They were as fun as the 80s. They partied like the 80s. See, the Met team, sometimes you look at actors and actresses, like you can't believe they actually go to the bathroom. It's like, oh, they're on the big screen. No, they were regular people like us. They were partying in clubs till 3 a.m. Doc, I met Doc again about a year ago. Mike Massa and I were in a place and met Doc. Doc was sitting with Pete Rose's agent. and we had a talk before Pete Rose died. Doc, I remember, he was very nice. He came in with Strawberry a couple of times. Doc was very nice. I had no idea he was doing cocaine at the time. Hey, Ira, never knew he was doing cocaine. But back then, Doc was a little nicer guy than Darryl. Darryl was a little stuck up. Darryl became a really nice guy. He found God. He should have found his swing. It would have been better for him. But yeah, Doc was a nice guy. Very, very quiet. Gone, goodbye. Yeah, some of the great Met calls. Gets by Buckner. Yeah, Bob Murphy was an amazing. Just amazing. Let me see if I can find Hall of Fame broadcaster. Now Gary Cohen is. Hold on, let me get you. It'll sound better. Yeah. Somebody, it's terrible, these calls. The Mets win. Yeah. Darryl Strawberry. Bob Murphy was great, though. Yeah. Yeah, the culture of the 80s. Yeah, Emmanuel. But my priest was doing coke in the 80s, unfortunately. Can you imagine me? Our Father and do 2 lines. It was incredible. But the 80s was the 80s. And if you survived the 80s, you did a good job. You did a good job because it was certainly enough to keep you very busy in the 80s. But look, it is what it is. So the Mets 6-4. I would have liked 7-3 coming out of the gate, but this could have been a disaster. You know, when the Mets were 3-1 and then lost 3 in a row. If the Mets lose another couple of games, you would have heard Mendoza chants when he was going to get fired. This calmed them down a little. Whenever you start on a road trip like that and come back and have a winning road trip, 4-3, it's big. It's big for the team. It's good for the morale, especially coming home. If the Mets they start a 3-game series against Arizona tomorrow, I'll be there. If you came home 3-7, even 4-6, and then lose tomorrow, starts getting 3 or 4 out already in the East, and you're starting to hear boo birds. You're getting tight. Now Soto's on the DL. Wouldn't have been a pretty sight. I think winning 3 in a row in San Francisco saved Mendoza for a while. And We'll see what happens. You know, there's no excuse not to be a 500 team without Soto. They're not playing world. They do have to go out to LA for a series next week. What, the tunnel, the club? I used to go to the tunnel. I used to go to Heartbreak on Barrack Street. 38 years. Wow, Mitch. Yeah, Gary Cohen's about 67, I think. Great announcer, Gary Cohen. Who would have thought? You know, you never think about it. I remember when the Mets had Fran Healy, I think in the 80s. Healy was terrible. But McCarver was good. But the originals, Murphy, Kiner, and Nelson, they used to alternate, go to radio to TV, radio to TV. That was what early 70s, that's what it was all about. That's when I remembered. I mean, I became a fan when I was about 9, 1970. And just an exciting time when you're 9 and you start really knowing about a team and start finding your favorite players, because usually you're playing Little League at 9. And, you know, you even use stances like your favorite player, how they used to stand. You know, you wanted to be that player. You picked up a lot of their traits and you tried to mimic it on the ball field. Interesting. And that shapes you as a baseball fan. Don't think for a second that what you did. Oh, Pastels. I went to Pastels with Johnny Franco and Dan Bilardello when Franco was with Cincinnati. Bilardello was the catcher. He brought him there. A lot of players went to Pastels. The owner, or Ali Shades, knew a couple of the executives from the Mets. The Ridgefield Raptors. Oh, yeah. The tunnel was a good place. I used to hang out. If I wasn't at Shout, I was usually at either the Kit Kat Club or Heartbreak. Oh, good for you, Maria. You were number 7. I was 25. Originally I played center. What happened was I played center field for JV, and the shortstop got hurt in varsity. They brought me. I played shortstop and stayed there. That guy never played again. A Wooly Pip situation. I was originally a center fielder, and then I became a shortstop. Oh, were you, Maria? Oh, I love softball. I was playing softball up to about 5 years ago, and then the team disbanded. I would play softball now. Well, I can't until the shoulder gets better, but I love it. Oh, really? Pitcher and catcher. Wow. Oh, I loved softball. I was in a few leagues, night leagues, slow pitch, and all that. I played night games. About 20 years ago, I was in Port Washington, where the fields were manicured beautifully, and it was a night league, and we had a lot of fun. It was great. Had a ball. Oh, I love ball. You know, I was always a big baseball guy. Always, from the time I was 6, I remember playing wiffle ball. Oh, really, Maria? You probably didn't suck as bad as you think. Let me tell you something I learned a long time ago. When you're on a winning streak, you're never as good as you look. And when you're losing, you're never as bad as you look. We always think that we're terrible. You're probably better than you thought. You might not have been great, but you were probably better than you thought. But anyway, the Mets Zone, episode 1. Mets 6-4 off tonight. They start tomorrow. Oh, the big game tonight. Let me tell you, someone asked me about the championship game. I think Michigan's too strong. The line is 7. I can see Michigan winning that game by 15. And Michigan's just too tough, too big, too athletic. And I think they'll kick ass. Anyway, thank you for coming in. I really do appreciate it. I will see you tomorrow. God bless you all. Let's go Mets.